game begins, and then we will finish it over on 97.7 ESPN, the Zone 2, because it is National Championship Monday. Just how everybody drew it up at the beginning of the year. Washington and Michigan, 1 versus 2, 14-0, 14-0 from Houston, Texas, just the way we thought it. Now, everybody says, Drew, that Washington or Michigan is sitting at a 4.5-point spread, but I look at it this morning, and I'm seeing Michigan as a 5.5-point spread.
So there's more money coming in on Michigan, huh? So a lot of people believe they're going to be able to control the line of scrimmage and win this game. I took Michigan under that number. I'm not going to change it. I got Michigan winning 27-24. Of course, I've been wrong about Washington all year, Scott. Don't think I've picked them in a big game yet. And they've won them all, and they've won them all by less than one score. So I definitely think Washington will compete in the game. But, again, I took Michigan. It's really kind of interesting without Texas and Alabama in the national championship game, which would have been a rematch, which I think would have been off the wall as far as media coverage. I've watched some of the media coverage, but there doesn't seem to be the hype for this national championship game like others. It doesn't seem to be the energy and everything, but, of course, I guess it's because the SEC is not in it for the first time since 2014. And
well, the South isn't in it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the best league in the country is not in it this year, so it was an unusual season where, Alabama eliminated Georgia, so Georgia wasn't able to get into the tournament and have a chance to win it, and then Alabama couldn't close the deal against Michigan, so going to be interesting. But I like the Wolverines. I still think it's a line of scrimmage game, and I love Penix. I love what he's done. Kalen DeBoer is amazing. They've won 21 in a row. I mean, maybe I'm jinxing Michigan here and going to continue the hot streak for Washington, but I just really like the Wolverines. I think they're going to find a way to get it done. And, I mean, it might not be pretty at times, but I think that's the way Harbaugh wants it. And, sign stealing situation or not, and NCAA situation or not, I mean, they're a really good team. They had a good plan against Alabama, and they certainly for half really flummoxed the tide. I thought Alabama dominated the second half, but, hey, man, you still got to finish the game. And Alabama didn't finish the game. Michigan did. And, I think that's the way Harbaugh wanted it, though. He's got a gritty bunch of older guys, fourth- and fifth-year players, and they just want to give themselves a shot late. And I think they like their chances in close games, just like Washington. So that's why it's going to be a fascinating matchup. Plus, as we've all noted since the games ended and this matchup was set, this is a total – you couldn't get any more different stylistically than how these teams want to play. I mean, Michigan is old school. They want to play what Nick Saban refers to as wide ball. They want to have tight formations. They spread it some, but they really want to run the football, control the clock, and play to their defense. And Washington is just wide open that the team they throw the ball around. And like I think in the last game, 6 different receivers had 3 catches for Washington. So it's going to be fascinating.
That game against Texas, believe it or not, and a lot of people say, well, you look at that Texas game for Michael Penix Jr., and they were like, well, he should have won. I mean, this is why he should have won the Heisman. But that was his best. That was his best performance, accuracy-wise, all season. Was against the Texas Longhorns. Okay, he hit 11.3 yards per throw. He was only off target 3 times against Texas. Was Michael Penix. That was his best day all season. His off-target rate, Michael Penix's off-target rate this season has been 13.9%. That is a full percentage point below the national average. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, in 2019, this will tell you how good of a season Joe Burrow had. And just come on in. Just come on in. This will tell you how much of a season Joe Burrow had. He ranked 3rd nationally in air yards, 4,951, and led the country with the lowest off-target rate. His off-target rate in 2019 was 6.1%. That's how good of a season Joe Burrow had in his national championship season. Michael Penix is 13.9 right now. So last season, I think everybody knows what it was like last season for the national championship game. This is what we had last year, okay? Looking through the record books, and you tell me if we're going to have another game like we had last year. TCU has the lowest yardage in a national championship game at 188 yards. They had total. They had 36 yards rushing and 153 passing yards last season. Georgia had 589 total yards, 254 on the ground, 335. By the way, LSU has the most yards ever in a national championship game at 628. Yep, Alabama's one against Ohio State. Remember that one when Ohio State thought they could cover wide receivers with a linebacker. 621 yards. So they're 7 yards less than Ohio State's. Those are the top two total yardage combined in a national championship game. This year, the top five is 538. That's the fifth most. Yeah. Does this game approach that in total yards for either Michigan or Washington?
It's going to have to for Washington to win. I don't think it has to for Michigan. Because to be honest with you, if you remember the game on January 1, Michigan didn't do anything the whole second half until that final drive for 75 yards.
Right.
I mean, it was like watching the Miami Dolphins last night just choke all over themselves. I mean, they couldn't make a first down hardly. Didn't really even threaten Alabama. So, and I will say, I do think after watching the Texas game that the line of scrimmage has been kind of devalued for Washington. They're pretty good. And so if they can get Michigan blocked, and that is the one thing about the semifinals, Michigan seen or Washington seen Michigan. So
right.
You're not going to be reinventing the wheel. Now, what Alabama has come out and said since losing is that Michigan was even faster and even better on defense than they thought, yada, yada, yada. But that can work the other way, too, because Michigan hasn't seen a team stop. Because Alabama had a good offense, man. Not a great one, a good one, and a good wide receiver core. But this is the best wide receiver core in the country that Washington's got. So can Michigan hold up in coverage? But, of course, you can hold up if you can get to the quarterback. And so,
right.
To me, the whole thing comes down to a basic thing. Michigan had 6 sacks against Alabama, and they blitzed really effectively. Can they do that against Penix? Can they get to Penix? Now, we've seen some defenses do that. Arizona State slowed them down and held them to field goals, and they had a hard time getting into a rhythm. And there were some other ugly games for Washington. But if you can't get to Penix with those receivers, man, they're going to kill you. So that's what it basically comes down to for me. And if Penix can be protected, and he is mobile too, if he can, even if they move him off his spot, if he can still get, effectively, throw the football on the move, then I think Washington can have a good shot. So to me, I still like Michigan. I think they're going to get home some. And then what I'm counting on, too, is Michigan being able to run the ball.
Yes.
And keep it away from Washington,
yes.
In other words. Washington can't score if they don't have the ball.
So as far as rushing attempts go, now this you could see a college football national championship record, I think, if Michigan gets it to their game. The record for rushing attempts in a national championship game was set by Ohio State in 2015 when they played Oregon. 61 times Ohio State ran the ball in the national championship game. That is by far the most ever.
Zeke Elliott, yeah. And they blew them away.
Alabama is next at 46. That was their game against Clemson in Arizona, the year that they won.
Derrick Henry.
Alabama rushed the ball 46 times in that game against Clemson. And then Georgia versus Alabama, Georgia ended up rushing the ball 45 times in that overtime loss. That was the overtime game. That was in 18. That was the 45-yard. 44 for Georgia against TCU last year, and 42 times for Clemson versus Alabama in Tampa the year that Clemson won. So it's not unthinkable to think that Michigan won't rush the ball 40 or more times in this national title game if they have the lead.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I would expect them to. If you ask Jim Harbaugh, going into this game, if Michigan's going to win, I think they need 50 rushing attempts or more. I don't, certainly they're going to allow J.J. McCarthy to throw the ball. Right. But I think they would like to. I think we even talked about this going into the Rose Bowl. They only average about 18 passes a game.
Yeah.
So to me, it would be about if they get 70 offensive snaps, it would be 20 passes, 50 rushes. I think is what Michigan would like to do. Yeah. Blake Corum would be MVP of this game. He would rush for 150 plus yards, and Michigan would win it and find a way. Now, with Penix, look, Washington, you are who you are. They want Penix to throw for 350 plus and multiple touchdowns. And now the availability of Dylan Johnson will be interesting because, Washington earlier in the week was saying he was going to be available. So, and he has been an underrated part of it because when they beat Oregon in the rematch, and once again I picked against him in that game, I believe he had maybe 150 yards rushing. And don't forget, this offensive line for Washington won the Joe Moore Award for the best O-line in the country. So
Michigan had won it the previous 2 years.
So it's going to be interesting to see, how they do and how they can hold up against the Wolverines. Because I thought Alabama would be able to hold up against Michigan. They did in the second half and only gave up 1 sack, and that was late. But the first half was an abomination. They gave up 5 sacks, and quite frankly, we're lucky to only be down 13-10 at the half because they had been dominated in the trenches. And so, again, I'm definitely going to watch the game. It's a fascinating matchup of tempos and the styles of football. And so it's going to be, Kalen DeBoer, if he can pull this off, it's 22 in a row. And he's gotten Washington where the last time was Don James in 91 with Steve Entman and all those guys. And that was a really good, a balanced football team. They could run, they could throw, but they were really, really good. The Purple Rain defense, man. Yeah. I was actually surprised Entman didn't make it big in the pros. I thought he would be a superstar, but he got hurt quite a bit. It never became the star everybody thought he would. But that Washington team was really good. And what a story it would be if that Kalen DeBoer could do this. But Harbaugh, the fascinating thing with Jim is what we've said. Like, if he wins it, he completed his mission at Michigan, but then what's the next step? Because Harbaugh's been as evasive as ever. You know what our good friend Bill Bender always says? Harbaugh is going to avoid a question better than anyone, giving you a straight answer. Like, is he going to be going to the NFL, or is he going to stay at Michigan long term? I'll just predict something. If he doesn't stay at Michigan, then the NCAA is fixing to whack him. And I'm not saying they won't recover from it anytime soon. They'll recover, but it's going to be a USC-type deal with Pete Carroll. Because they always swear that Pete didn't leave to go to the Seahawks because of the NCAA. I totally disagree with that. I think Pete had his eyes on the NFL, and then, as soon as he knew behind the scenes things were not going to go well with that investigation, and because people had already started, you already started hearing things, and he went to the Seahawks, and he's still there. So all these years later. So again, it's going to be really fascinating to see if Michigan can finish this drill, win it all, and then what Jim Harbaugh does.
All right, 7:15. I know we got callers holding, but let's get a break in. National Championship Monday. We'll talk more about that. We'll talk some more other college football news and notes. It's Talking Ball live from Bill Penny Toyota on a Monday morning.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a couple of wrecks now. I got one in Decatur, 6th Avenue and 7th Street. That one's a no injury, but it's got some southbound blockage. And we got Airport in Whitesburg. That one's reported with injury. They reported entrapment originally, but I think they canceled rescue on it. Officers, construction workers, and first responders put their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. Why not make it safer for them? Slow down or move over. It's the law. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
It's official. 47 years in a row, Ford F-150 is the best-selling truck in America. Come drive one and you'll see why. Hi, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you to kickstart the new year in a brand new F-150. Choose from nearly 200 F-150s, and we think you'll find just the right one. Right now, we have financing as low as 2.9% for up to 72 months on 2023 F-150s, and lease payments as low as $389 a month. That's a 36-month lease with $62.82 due at signing, zero security deposit, just tax tag title, and your good credit. This offer ends January 31st. Call 539-9441 for complete details. At Woody Anderson Ford, we have nearly 50 2023 Explorers for you to choose from, too, with financing as low as 0.9% for up to 60 months. Plus, check out our over 40 24 Bronco Sports and a fresh truckload of the full-size Broncos that have just hit the ground. Come on over and let's get the new year rolling. Woody Anderson Ford, Jordan at Sparkman. Hope to see you soon.
It's time to get ready for game day. That means Alabama football and tailgating. Whether you're tailgating at home or at Bryant-Denny, visit Brooks & Collier for North Alabama's largest selection of premium grills and smokers like Big Green Egg, Blaze, Delta Heat, Memphis, and Traeger. Satisfy any palate with our wall of rubs and seasonings. For all your tailgating needs, visit Brooks & Collier at 813 Meridian Street or at brooksandcollier.com. An Alabama tradition for over 75 years. Roll Tide.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in the respective state or county.
Okay, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. It is a Monday morning. 31 degrees as you make your way into work, into school, wherever you may be headed on this Monday. It is National Championship Monday. Again, don't forget, tonight the UAH Chargers do take on the Union Bulldogs in Union. That game will get underway at 5 o'clock. You will be able to hear the game over the airways of 97.7 ESPN The Zone to start. And then once the National Championship coverage gets underway, that game will shift to 97.7 ESPN The Zone 2, and we will pave the way for either Michigan or Washington to celebrate a national championship before the night is over. 256-576-4977. That's how you can join the show. And Jeff from the Borough is with us this morning. Good morning, Jeff.
Morning, Jeff.
How you doing, guys?
Good.
I don't know much about the game, about the kind of oxymoron around it. If Michigan wins, everybody thinks they cheated, which they didn't. They've done nothing wrong. If you take their title away, then take the Houston Astros title away. If you take their title away, they did nothing wrong. And if Washington wins, it's kind of a swan song for the Pac-12. They've been bashed and beat. They can't play football out there out west. You can't play any football. So if they win, it'll be a swan song for them. If they can't, you can't play any out. You can't do anything. That's like Penix said. They talking about, I forget whether they've come together and done all this stuff that nobody believes they can do anything. And they've all year long they've been to Oregon and they beat them twice and all the other stuff that people can't believe them. So if they win, it'll be a crowning moment for the Pac-12 as they on their way out the door as college football realignment. It rears its ugly head. But I do want to say, guys, I don't know if y'all saw it, but next year with the realignment in SEC basketball. They're going to go down to, instead of 3 permanent opponents, 2. Kentucky's are Florida, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. And a lot of people think Kentucky's 2 should be Tennessee and Vanderbilt next year because they play them the most. I know I saw a story where they had all the permanent opponents, of course. Conference play started this weekend, and I watched a little bit. I didn't watch a whole lot. I watched the Kentucky game, and I saw some scores. But Kentucky didn't play real well defensively. They're so lucky they got out of Gainesville with the win. It's unreal. Bradshaw hit that 3. I couldn't believe he hit it, and then they just made some plays down the stretch to win. Florida should have beat us. I couldn't believe Alabama and Vanderbilt was that close, but it's conference play for you, and got a lot of teams got upset around the country. So conference play is what it is. Everybody knows everybody. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It happens, down the line. But I know Kentucky's women yesterday blew one in Knoxville. They were up 17 in the first half and 10 at halftime, and couldn't close the deal because they couldn't make shots in the second half. That was disappointing. So, but I'll hang up. Listen, guys, and enjoy the national championship. See you.
Thanks. Was he going to watch it or not watch it? I forgot.
I think he's not going to watch it, more than likely. At least that's what he's going to claim anyways. But and it was an interesting opening weekend of SEC basketball. We previewed that with Blake Lovell, and what we found out is Ole Miss is not a top 25 team.
No, they're not.
In my opinion.
South Carolina gets a win over Mississippi State, 68-62.
That's not stunning, but it still tells you that I think South Carolina is a lot better than they were a year ago.
Right. They're 13-1 now, 1-0 in SEC play.
Still not convinced that they're an NCAA. I know Blake because of their schedule.
Yeah.
And said the way it sets up, he thinks they got a shot, but – I mean, that was a good first step anyway of beating Mississippi State. But like we also lamented, State made it a year ago, and that was the first time in 4 years. And before that, it was 10.
Right.
So they haven't made it a lot lately. I don't really know how good State is yet. But
the verdict is still out.
Well, I mean, but South Carolina was picked, I think, dead last. So, I mean.
You can only go up from there.
I mean,
you can't.
And then for Alabama, I watched a lot of that game.
78-75 winners over Vanderbilt.
They got up 33-15 early, and then by halftime it was only a 4-point game. And then the whole second half, Alabama had them at arm's length, which is 9, 10, 11, but could never put it away. And then it should have been a comfortable game. I always do this where I watch the game because you know how it is, Scott. You and Steve are going to be doing it tonight. College basketball a lot of times is in 4-minute segments because of the media timeouts. And then because you get every 4 minutes, you pretty much take a timeout. So you play the game in 4-minute segments. And when Alabama had hit the 67-point mark around, I guess there were 7 minutes to go, in my head I'm like, okay, if they hit 80, they're going to win this game. And then they should have got 80 plus. But like Nate Oates said after the game, they've got to learn to close games because too many turnovers, and then they missed a bunch of free throws and really almost cost themselves the game. Now, Mignon, Vandy's best player, was playing pretty well. He got injured with about 8-9 minutes to go and really couldn't come back with an ankle, which helped Alabama. But their freshman Torres, he went nuts, started making all kind of tough shots. And then, like I said, down the stretch, Alabama missed 3 or 4 free throws where it shouldn't have come down to, Maylock's time where you're trying to hold on for dear life in a one-possession game. But a win is a win. And the amazing thing is, when I was growing up, Memorial Gym was voodoo for Alabama. They won in 1990 and then lost I don't know how many in a row. And the amazing thing about Nate Oates since he got there is he's 10-0 in Nashville, 6-0 at Bridgestone, but he's 4-0 at Memorial Gym. Now, no matter whether it's ugly or not, he found a way to win. But I'll tell you who had the most impressive win of the weekend.
That'd be the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah.
That 32-point win was the largest for a visitor in Bud Walton history. 83-51. This was a 7-point game at half. Auburn was up 37-30 at the break. Auburn outscored Arkansas 46-21 in the second half.
Yeah, no question. I mean, if you want to watch some comedy, watch Ernest T. Bass, a.k.a. Eric Musselman's press conference after that one when he's getting peppered with questions from the media. I mean, it's And, of course, he had no idea that it was the school record, not just for him, but for all time thumping that they took. So, I mean, but trust me, we'll see if Arkansas can figure it out. This is not the first time under Eric Musselman. It's almost like death taxes, and they start 1-3.
Yeah.
And then they start winning. So it's going to be interesting to see. This Arkansas team has been up and down the whole year. And they're capable. They beat Duke at home, but Duke almost lost to Notre Dame. So this Duke team isn't playing great either.
This is college basketball, okay?
Right.
This is one game. They've got so many more conference games to go that you're going to have a bad game. I mean, you look at this. One of the most entertaining games was the Kentucky-Florida game.
Yeah, Jeff just talked about it.
Kentucky does get that 2-point road win. They trailed for a lot of that game, and they get a road win, 87-85. You never apologize for getting a road win, and you can apologize sometimes for how you got the win, but you never apologize for the win because it is a road win in the SEC. There's a lot of SEC basketball left to be played. Don't overreact to a loss in week one of conference play. And that's the football mentality sometimes that we carry over into basketball season, where you get tripped up in week one of SEC basketball and you think the world is coming to an end. You still have, 16, 17, 18 more games to go.
Yeah.
A lot of these teams will be fine. There's a lot to do. Ole Miss does fall 90-64 to Tennessee.
I tried to watch some of that. It was just
LSU gets a 68-53
that was another
win
one.
over
That's
Texas A&M.
The second most surprising. LSU, which has not really been great in the pre-conference, they go on the road and they whack Texas A&M. But Texas A&M has been a little disappointing in the pre-conference as well with Buzz Williams. That, to me, was the second most surprising. It was the last game of the day, really. And I didn't realize it till late that night because I hadn't checked the score. But, wow, because I watched quite a bit of SEC hoops on Saturday. But that's a pretty good road win for Coach Matt Mitchell in LSU going on the road. Because A&M historically, especially under Buzz, has been really tough at home. And then they usually figure it out. They'll win. They'll win a few on the road as well. But they're a really tough-minded, hard-nosed team at home. So, but you're right. I mean, it's early. You don't want to overreact, even to Arkansas, because again, we'll see. And now it's a very interesting game on Tuesday at Coleman Coliseum with Alabama facing that South Carolina team.
Yeah, your Tuesday lineup looks like this. Sixth-ranked Kentucky will welcome Missouri. Mm-hmm. Alabama welcomes South Carolina. Auburn welcomes Texas A&M. And LSU will welcome Vanderbilt. Those are your Tuesday SEC slate of games. All right, 7:30. Let's pause. When we come back, we do have some NFL news and notes. It is Black Monday.
Yeah, Black Monday.
A lot of guys losing their jobs today. One has just happened. We'll fill you that in and set you up for a little NFL playoffs. Why not? We've got a lot of other stuff to get through as well. 256-576-4977 is Talking Ball live from Bill Penny Toyota.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Emily Owen. For this Monday night, expect scattered showers and a few thunderstorms. We could see some heavy rainfall within some of these showers. Also expect gusty winds as high as 40 miles per hour. Heading into your Tuesday, rain lingers on into the afternoon. High temperatures topping out in the mid to upper 50s, but it will be windy at times. We could see wind gusts as high as 35 miles per hour. I'm Fox 54 meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Sounds like we may have just picked up a wreck at Martin Road and Zert Road. No injury, and apparently they pulled it to the side of the road. One in Decatur, 6th Avenue and 7th Street's a no injury, but it's got some southbound blockage. And they reported Whitesburg and Airport as an injury type, but it looks like they never assigned Himsey to that call. With more than 30 years experience, D&L Refrigeration can save you money on those heating and air conditioning repairs. 256-652-1207. State license 08091. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com. When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Thursday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
Orthopedics. You're thinking bones, muscles, and joints, right? Well, what else comes to mind? Maybe your spine, therapy, or an arm cast? What about sports medicine? What do you think about when you hear that? Are you thinking about the largest orthopedic group in the state, caring for the most student athletes in North Alabama? Or about the fact that they are teamed up with the state's largest hospital-based sports medicine program to provide care to more schools in North Alabama than any other group? If you are, you have TOC Sports and Huntsville Hospital Sports Center on the brain. If you're not, you should, because Huntsville Hospital Sports Center and TOC Sports have partnered for more than 2 decades to establish a state-of-the-art team of certified athletic trainers and orthopedic specialists who successfully continue to meet and exceed the sports medicine needs of schools, athletes, coaches, and parents in our community. Committing to kids, committing to community, committing to care. That's Huntsville Hospital Sports Center and TOC Sports.
Football season and Bad Daddy's Burger Bar. The perfect combination of good times and great food. This season, score big with one of our chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness. Our delicious burgers are made with premium Angus beef, and you can pair it with one of our signature cocktails or a cold craft beer from our huge selection. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar on the Parkway in Huntsville and our new location at Cliff Farm, Highway 72 in Madison.
The best in local sports talk from the 256. We are local.
When you're number one, you don't have to worry.
We are award-winning. Thank you for listening. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You'll be set for life.
The heat is on for either Michigan or Washington. One of those two will win a college national championship tonight. And why not take a stroll down memory lane as far as national championships go on this date 6 years ago? This is what we had.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
The pass.
Yeah, 2nd and 26. Could have used that last night. Boy, that was some putrid stuff.
6 years ago today. Alabama beats Georgia.
Trying to watch the Dolphins last night gag. But, I mean, that didn't surprise me. I kind of figured Buffalo would win that game and come back and win the division. Now the Dolphins get to go play in 10-degree weather with the Chiefs. I'm sure that's going to go exceptionally well. But I'm sure the Dolphins will get some of their injured guys back, but we'll see. But again, yeah, it was an iconic moment, greatest pass in Alabama history. I mean, unbelievable. Probably it's second in the Saban era. It would be the Gravedigger against Auburn this year, but what Tua did is still astounding. I mean, the Alabama was down 13-0 at half, and to come off the bench and to rally them to a win's amazing. No question about it. And maybe we'll see a game like that tonight. I think Penix is going to have not just a half, but a game like that. he's going to have to play exceptionally well, and he's certainly capable. And, I mean, a lot at stake for Penix, because if he does do this again, and you already kind of talked about the game he had last, on the first, about 10 days ago. It was the second greatest game passing yards-wise, production-wise, to Joe Burrow's game you already previously mentioned in the national championship game for LSU when they were able to roll to that title in 2019. Man, I mean, if he can do it again, he will be making himself a ton of money. And I'm just talking about with the NFL, because he's going to be shooting up the draft charts. He's already a guy that's got a good shot at being a first-round pick. But if you take Washington to the national championship, if you're effective against a Michigan defense and Jim Harbaugh, I mean, we all know it's a quarterback-driven league, and we all know there's a ton of teams that need quarterbacks. We've already had – you talked about Black Monday. Well, we had Black Sunday for the Falcons because they suck.
What do you – we got to get into a little bit of that.
And
we'll get into it.
The Commanders. I mean, there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks.
Well, the Commanders obviously
Patriots.
let Ron Rivera go.
Yeah.
That's the big news of the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even call it big news because it was the most expected news around the league. I mean, Ron Rivera even knew going into it that he was going to get let go regardless of the outcome. Yesterday, no matter what happened, he was going to get fired, and he did. The Panthers have let their GM go. They will have a new GM as well as a new head coach because Frank Reich was let go earlier in the year. Mm-hmm. A lot of speculation on what's going to happen in New England. Will Bill Belichick, did he coach his last game in New England? That is some stuff that is going on. But some NFL notes in case you want to know. Since 1990, there's been a streak of 34 consecutive seasons. At least 4 teams every season have qualified for the playoffs after failing to make the playoffs a year ago. Those 6 teams this year, Cleveland, Detroit, Green Bay, Houston, the Rams, and Pittsburgh accomplished that feat.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say this. I think DeMeco Ryan should be coach of the year for the Texans because they were picking number 2. Yeah. Then they traded up to number 3. I mean, their organization was in disarray last year. DeMeco was brought in. They go 10-7 because of the Jaguars gagging down the stretch, and boy, they fell apart and didn't even make the playoffs. Yeah. But it's still amazing that nobody was picking the Texans to win that division. No. And of course, their schedule was a little bit easier because of what was coming into the season. But amazing year for DeMeco and the Texans, and to find a way to win that game against Indy, and then to get. Of course, it took a 4th down botch. Indy dropped a pass, but hey, it is what it is, and you got to give the Texans a ton of credit for knocking the door down, winning that division. Now they get a home game in the playoffs, and so it's going to be pretty astounding what DeMeco's done. I think I had a chance to talk to John McClain on the drive a couple weeks ago, and he kind of detailed that coaching search and the GM, and kind of how they decided to build this team. And it's pretty amazing that the turnaround for the Houston Texans.
Well, next year when you're looking at teams to pick for division winners, keep this in mind. 19 of the past 21 seasons, at least one team in first place the season after finishing last or tied for last the previous year. So 19 of the past 21 seasons, there has been a team that has won the division after finishing last the year before. So, it's amazing to think about that. The Buffalo Bills, let's see here. So there you go. Just some news and
Buffalo
notes.
wins the division. Yep. A month ago, they were in bad shape. I mean, they were not playing well, but they have finished hot. Josh Allen still was up and down last night. I mean, the Dolphins didn't take advantage of what they had. I mean, they forced 3 turnovers, and their offense just couldn't do anything with it. They ran the ball pretty well for at least the first 2.5, 3 quarters, but they just could not gain any traction offensively. Couldn't get the passing game going. No Jalen Waddle. They didn't have Mostert either, but the running game was still pretty good. They just could not take advantage of those turnovers their defense got, and a key stop at the 1-yard line at the end of the half. But the whole game turned on a punt return that, for whatever reason, was returned from inside the 5, but it ended up being a good move because it was a 95-yard punt return for a TD for, the Buffalo Bills. and it just sparked them for the rest of the game. Because the Dolphins did not make a first down offensively until their final drive, which ended in a 2 interception. So it was not a good performance by Miami. It wouldn't give me any confidence going into the playoffs, even if they get some of their guys back. The Dolphins have not played well. Really hadn't beat a good team all year, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a putrid coaching job by McDaniel and Fangio last night. Even though I will still give Fangio credit, he lost a ton of guys. I mean, they were down to 2 edge rushers. They at least competed and kept their team in it. But McDaniel's supposed to be some offensive wizard. I mean, blah, blah, blah. I know they were without Waddle and Mostert, like I said, and they're banged up. And their offensive line started 12 or 13 different combinations. But I don't care. I didn't think they were able to move the ball at all and in the second half. And I just didn't think it was a very good performance. And it was at home, too. I mean, it was the division's right there for the taking. You can be the 2 seed and get a home game and you fall on your face like that. So we'll see what happens against the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been up and down, but the one thing the Chiefs have done is play defense. And they got Pat Mahomes, who has 2 Super Bowl rings.
Play. And so now he gets a home playoff game.
Yeah.
And by the way, that Miami-Kansas City game will be streamed exclusively on Peacock.
Yeah,
so it's not going to be on NBC. It's going to be on Peacock.
Because it'll probably be puke.
Patrick Mahomes will still yet to have to play a road playoff game. Every one of his playoff games have come in Kansas City. He's yet to have to do that. And then you got the Cleveland Browns at the Houston Texans. That'll be on Saturday. That game will be 3:30. That one will be on NBC, Peacock, and Telemundo, by the way, in case you want to listen to it on Telemundo. All right.
Not sure I even want to watch it or listen to it, to be honest with you.
Let's go to Ellis real fast on the on the phone lines, I should say. Good morning, Ellis.
Morning, Ellis.
How y'all doing this morning, fellas?
We're hanging in there.
Ellis had a good seat in Nashville. He went to see the Alabama basketball game. You got to see it was a little bit closer than it should have been, Ellis, but you got to see the Tide get a win.
Ooh, yeah, it was a little bit too close for comfort.
Yeah.
But, have you ever been, I know you've been to a basketball game and everything and watched it, but be able to watch it that close, to me, you can actually tell sometimes when they shoot them 3-pointers, you can about tell that it's going in before it gets there.
Yeah, right.
Just by the look of it,
Yeah,
and
gotcha.
It was the number 5 for Vanderbilt. He's a good player.
Yeah, no question.
He got hurt.
Yeah, Mignon. I saw him at the SEC tournament last year. Really smooth dude.
But we just got to finish. Like you was talking about, like Nate Oates. I could have hollered at the coach, and he had heard me. That's how close I was to the team.
Oh, there you go. You got that front row seat, Ellis, and Vandy fans.
There you go.
It seemed like. Was it about what, 2/3 of an Alabama crowd or something?
Yes, I said they was one Vandy fan behind me with his wife and 2 kids.
Gotcha. Right.
But the rest was Alabama fans, and they was scattered about. But where I was at, behind the Alabama team, they was a good bit of Alabama fans.
Nice.
And he let it be known when they shot the 3-pointers and made it. It was like good and loud. So.
No question.
But Vanderbilt has always been voodoo, though, hasn't it?
Well, for a long time,
in Memorial Gym.
Not since Nate Oates got to town. I mean, they did have one where Trevor Lacey hit a big shot under Anthony Grant, and I want to say it was 2012, and Alabama won a close one in Memorial Gym. But since Nate Oates got to town, he's 4-0 there and 6-0 in Bridgestone. So he's had a lot of success in the city of Nashville so far. Now, the Vandy program has been down, and it still is under Stackhouse, and it'll be interesting to see how that Vandy team does the rest of the year, because they don't look like they're very good, but who knows? I mean, Stack kind of figured some stuff out last year, and Vandy got it going. It's what Scott said. When you're playing 18 conference games, there's going to be some ups and some downs.
Yeah, don't read too much into one game.
Yeah.
I just hope we can get better as a team. I know we can be, and get a lead like we did and let it disappear. I hope we can keep a lead like that and add to it.
Yeah.
But I'll be down to Tuscaloosa here. I think I'm going to come down and watch them play Tennessee. So
that'll be a big one. It's got to. That'll be January the 20th. Well, wait. Oh yeah. Wait a minute. They're gonna. I think aren't they going to Tennessee, Ellis? I want to say because I'm looking on it. I'm gonna look real quick because I think that's. I saw it when I was looking at the schedule the way their conference schedule lays out. I want to say that's on Saturday the 20th. Let me look at it real quick. Yeah, Alabama is at Tennessee on Saturday the 20th.
Okay. I thought it's down there in Tuscaloosa.
Now I think they are going to play them in Tuscaloosa, but I'd have to try to find that date because there are certain teams that you play twice,
right?
And Alabama would play them twice. Yeah.
All right, Ellis. Thanks for the phone call, bud. It's 7:47.
Thank you, Roll Tide.
Thanks, Ellis. Yep, very good. All right, let's get a break in. When we come back, we will get back to the phone lines to wrap up hour one. It's Bill Penny Toyota and Talking Ball live together on a Monday.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Picked up a wreck at 31 in Nance Ford. That's in Morgan County. That one's got a Morgan County deputy unit involved. That one is coming in as an injury type. Martin Road and Zert Road reported as a no injury. One in Decatur, 6th Avenue and 7th Street reported with southbound blockage but no injury. And we may still be trying to get Whitesburg and Air cleared out of the way. You could lose up to 4 sizes in 4 weeks with a 2030 Fast Track Weight Loss Program. Find out more at 2030Huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the 72 Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
This is Wes Neighbors sitting here with Philip Love of not only Eagle Insulation, now he represents Eagle companies. Eagle through the years have added several companies to help individuals or builders through their construction renovation process. Eagle is known to represent quality, efficiency, and professionalism. Philip, I know you do insulation, but do you do masonry?
We do.
Do you do grading, erosion control, and dirt hauled off?
We do.
Do you do afterpaint, which includes shower doors, mirrors, shelving blinds, and bath hardware?
Yes, we do, Wes.
Do you do landscaping and irrigation?
Yes, we do.
So basically, Eagle can help you all along your process of building your house or doing renovations. So do you do plumbing?
We do not, Wes, but we can find somebody to do it.
Just give them time. They'll be there. Anyway, call Eagle Insulation at
256-755-1556.
Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money. Call Eagle today.
Thanks, Wes.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
From heirloom diamonds to contemporary jewels, Loring & Company is the place to find something truly special. Whether shopping for a diamond ring for that once-in-a-lifetime occasion or marking a milestone birthday or personal achievement with a Rolex watch, you'll find just the thing in our edit of the world's most sought-after brands, including David Yurman, Roberto Coin, Marco Bicego, and Fopay. Expect a treasure trove of the world's most unique, even breathtaking earrings, rings, necklaces, and bracelets, making choosing just one piece a challenge in itself. Loring & Company Jewelers on Airport Road.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
Welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. And once again, don't forget, 97.7 ESPN The Zone will be your home for tonight's national championship game, Washington and Michigan. Somebody will become 15-0 and bring home that national championship trophy tonight. 256-576-4977. That's how you can be a part of the show right now. And Jay is with us this morning. Good morning, Jay.
Morning, Jay.
Morning, guys. How y'all this morning?
Doing good.
How you doing, man?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah, Drew, about the game Saturday, it just seemed like the Vandy fans didn't show. They're like Laker fans. They don't show up to about 10 minutes to go in the first half. It was so pro Alabama, and then the game started, and they finally started showing up. But yeah, it was more pro Alabama like it was last year.
Yeah, I that's what it kind of at least sounded like. I mean, I could see a lot of Vandy, fans, but I saw a ton of Alabama fans behind the Alabama bench, like where Ellis was. And I know you and your son were there, but it seemed like when Alabama went on their run in the second half and got up, I don't know, I guess at one point they were up 11. I think one time they were up 12. It did definitely seem like a home game for Alabama in a lot of ways.
It sure did, and I know they got a tough one coming in tomorrow night. South Carolina, they look good Saturday, so I know it'll be good. Just talk, if you mind, don't talk about those two commits we got over the weekend, Daniel Hill and Mincy.
Yeah, and they're even already signed. I mean, Alabama released their, Bama verse, like they released the fact they were signed with Alabama after they announced they had agreed with the parents and the kid to release that. But Daniel Hill, who I believe – oh, Lord, I think he had 2 touchdowns in the All-American game. I didn't see the whole game. I just tuned in off and on because those All-Star games are kind of hard to watch. But he had a couple of touchdown runs, did Daniel Hill, did a nice job. Big back, 240 pounds, really good hands. He signed with Alabama over Auburn, Tennessee, South Carolina, Mississippi State. He was recruited by most of the schools in the Southeast, but he committed, and then they got a huge piece, Zay Mincy, who ended up being the 7th DB in the class from Daytona Beach Mainland. He had an interception in the game. He played really well. He chose Alabama over Florida and Miami, basically, instead of deciding not to. Yeah, and Alabama can thank Travarius Robinson for that. Yeah. And because of that, we saw another DB go into the portal, but I think they were expecting already. Jake Pope from Buford, Georgia, went into the portal. Earl Little, as expected, he transferred to Florida State to be with his high school coach, Pat Surtain. His dad had some things to say on social media about, that he was a first-round talent and that he wasn't hurt, which I disagree with, because he even said at the Rose Bowl that he was recovering from a shoulder injury and he was just rooting on his brothers. But, I think what happened was when Malachi Moore decided to come back, I think that is another guy that's very experienced. I still think Earl Little would have played. I mean, you got 2 corners moving on at Alabama to be first-round picks, but I think he's, they've still got Trey Amos there. They got Damani Jackson out of the portal. I think he's worried about his playing time, so he's going to follow his high school coach. I wish Earl Little all the luck in the world. To me, he and Seth McLaughlin are the 2 big losses from the team that have gone into the portal. I don't think anyone else is a huge loss. And then Seth McLaughlin ends up at Ohio State. But, again, now we'll see, is Alabama going to look at what they've got in the spring and try some guys at center and see if they can solve that riddle? Or are they going to, go in the portal themselves? Now, Alabama's portal window is closed. I don't know who's still out there transfer portal-wise as far as a center goes.
Because it was a 5-day window after the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
And so that 5-day window came up. Is it a coincidence that Rodale Williams goes in the portal because they get the new running back?
Well, a little bit. And I think – at first, it was the report that Rodale was coming back, but I think he met with the coaching staff. You've got Justice Haynes, you've got Jam Miller, you still got Richard Young, and what's going to happen with Jason McClellan because he never announced that he was in the portal, so as of right now, he hasn't announced he's in the NFL either. So technically, he's still on the team. Is he going to come back or not? He's definitely a talent, but he's got some talented guys behind him. Because we heard late last night that Quinshawn Moneybags is at Ohio State.
Yes.
So and we've already heard Ryan the Choker say that he was that he needed $13 million to manage his roster. So I'm sure they'll probably meet the demands.
Seth McLaughlin is there at Ohio State now too. Seth McLaughlin commits to Ohio State over the weekend.
Will Howard, quarterback from Kansas State, so they're rebuilding,
By
their
the
whole
way,
backfield.
April 16th is the date that you want to circle because that is the next time that the transfer portal window will open is April 16th. Graduates can still go into the portal at any time. April 16th is the next time that the portal window will open.
Yeah, it will.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it.
And Alabama backup quarterback Eli Holstein has committed to Pitt. He will play his football at Pitt.
Yeah, he was probably fifth, I would say, now that they've added to that quarterback room. With arguably maybe Julian saying the top quarterback in the country. I'm not ready to say that yet. Let's wait and watch him practice and see him in a scrimmage. It's amazing for social media. People already have anointed him the starting quarterback, some of them, and he hasn't even taken, a practice rep. Except for bowl prep, but I'm just saying he hasn't even gone through a spring. But we'll see, and it looks like at least for the spring that Ty Simpson's still going to be at Alabama. But you make an interesting point about that, a next transfer portal window. Is Jace McClellan going to stay and compete and then see where he is with these other young backs? And then could somebody still consider transferring in the spring? I guess we'll see. I mean, that's what's going to be interesting. I think one of the biggest things that coaches have to do now is roster management because with all the transfer portal movement.
Yeah. It's the biggest thing.
It's not even done because you just said you still may lose more guys after spring practice.
Well, our good friend John Summerall got himself a quarterback as well. Ty Thompson, I believe.
From Oregon.
Ends up at Tulane. So John Summerall dipping
he never beat out Bo Nix, man, and he got a lot of hype. But
he did.
And then Oregon's been in the portal, probably going to bring in 2 dudes.
All right, that's hour 1 in the books. We've been live from Bill Penny Toyota. We are not done. Jake Crane will join us. What does he think about tonight's national championship game? We'll get his thoughts and more.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Unlike other credit cards that decline sports betting transactions or treat them as a cash advance, the G-Bank Visa Signature Card can load directly to your favorite sportsbook apps. G.bank/VSiN.
NFL Wildcard Weekend is set. 6 games, 12 teams starting Saturday with the Browns visiting the Texans in the AFC. Then the Dolphins visit the Chiefs at Arrowhead. AFC action starts off the games on Sunday with the Steelers visiting the Bills. Then it's NFC Wildcard action. The Packers visit the Cowboys. The Lions host the Rams. Then Monday night, the Buccaneers take on the Eagles. Heading into the weekend, the Browns are a 2.5-point favorite. The Chiefs by 3.5 at home on Saturday. Then on Sunday, it's Buffalo by 9.5. Dallas is a 7.5-point favorite. Detroit favored by 3. Then on Monday night in Tampa, the Eagles by 2.5. Get the latest lines and more at vsin.com.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And there you are. It is hour number 2 of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. National Championship game Monday. The weather conditions will be just fine inside NRG Stadium in Houston, as it's an indoor environment, so it's no outdoor football. One of the things that the Midwest and the East is preparing for is a blizzard, and it could be blizzard-like conditions. So everyone there in the Midwest hoping that for the best.
Man, it doesn't. Well, I just mentioned it's supposed to be about 8 degrees or something this weekend in Kansas City. I mean,
well, my mom texted me during the show. She is listening, but she wanted me to know that they're expected to get 5 to 10 inches of snow, and they could have winds up to 40 miles per hour. Now we have a wind advisory here. We have a wind advisory here. But yeah, so she texted me during the show and says tonight we could have 5 to 10 inches of snow, and they could have 40 miles an hour winds. So that's why I don't live there anymore.
Exactly.
That's why I don't live there.
I couldn't help laughing. I was watching this on Saturday. I was watching the Indianapolis Colts game, for the Texans because it was deciding the division. And Joe Buck starts with, "We're here in frigid Indianapolis," and I was like, "You don't say."
I'll show you frigid.
Exactly.
I'll show you frigid Indianapolis. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
With 40 mile per hour winds that day,
you don't have negative. You don't have that. That was the last national championship game we went to, and that was the that was in Indianapolis, Alabama, and Georgia.
Just frigid.
We were treated to a game that saw Alabama decimated with injuries in that game, and ends up coming up short. And that was an SEC matchup. This year we do not have that. This year we have a Big Ten, Pac-12, soon-to-be Big Ten matchup in the national championship game. We do not have a team from the South in the national championship this year. And, again, not since Ohio State and Oregon turned up at the first college football playoff title game in January 15. And then has the South gone excluded from the national championship game. Now, since Ohio State and Oregon, that night in Arlington, Texas, 16 teams entering the season had reached the championship game in Greater Phoenix, Tampa, Atlanta, San Francisco, New Orleans, Miami, Indianapolis, Los Angeles. 6 of those teams had the name Alabama, 4 had Clemson, 3 had Georgia, 1 had LSU. That left a measly 1 slot apiece for Ohio State and TCU. So that is how the national championship picture has been painted since the first 4-team college football playoff. And the final, I guess you could say, Rembrandt will be painted with Washington and Michigan, the mosaic.
Well, I think this will be a mosaic. I don't think this will be Wofford like with last year. I mean, it was just I watched maybe 3 series of the game last year and then just turned it. I mean, it was just massacre. I mean, Georgia was just, they were running around and through them. You could tell after the first half of the first quarter it wasn't going to be a game. I think this one will be much more competitive. I think when you look at it and you look at Washington and the way they throw the football.
Yep.
And I think, again, they're underrated defensively. They're not Michigan, but I think they're pretty good. And I think that was a pretty good Oregon team they beat twice. I think it's going to be a good game. I really do. I think DeBoer is a hell of a coach. Certainly Harbaugh has done a great job. His kids have played through a lot of adversity. A lot of it self-inflicted, but they've played through it. And I give them all the credit in the world. They certainly deserve to beat Alabama. They outplayed the Tide. And now we're going to see an interesting national championship game. We're going to talk about that and more with our next guest, our first guest of the show, coming right hot off of his show, which is one of the top in the country via the Real Daily Wire. It's Crane and Company. We hope he had a happy New Year and a Merry Christmas. It's our first time to connect with him since right after the SEC championship game, the college football playoff, was that the matchups were announced. But we always enjoy catching up with Jake Crane, and he's been kind enough to join us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Happy New Year, Jake. You're with Drew and Scott. Good morning.
Great to join you. Unfortunate this is the last football game of the year, but I tell you what, man, it's going to be a doozy.
Yeah, I think it is. I like Michigan by 3 under the number, but I think it's going to be a really competitive game. Of course, that may be a curse because I've picked against Washington in all their big games, and they've made me look stupid. But of course, I know the big topic probably with you guys on Crane & Company has been the difference in styles of football, but it is a really intriguing matchup.
Alabama was a matchup for Michigan. I think it showed you Michigan's maturity and their experience. Kind of being able to, overcome some bad special teams play, overcome Jalen Milroe being able to create a little bit outside of the pocket. But when I look at this game, I mean, can Washington stop the run? Because if you can't stop the run, you're not stopping And if you can't stop the run and you can't stop Michigan, you're not going to be able to stop the clock. And I think the goal of Michigan today should be to limit the possessions that Washington and Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah, a little connection there with Jake Crane. Yeah, that's a good thing because the phone there was a little crackly. Let's see if we can get Jake. But he's right, though. Do you think we see in this – remember that Penn State game with Michigan where Michigan ran the ball, I think, 26 straight times?
They didn't even throw a pass.
Didn't even throw a pass? Do you think the national championship – and I wonder what Jake's going to feel about that here when we get him back on. If Michigan ultimately – I mean, if we see Michigan do something like that in the national championship game, it's because, one, they're up on the scoreboard, and two, they're physically able to push that Washington defensive line around. Is the Washington defensive line built big enough to sustain what Michigan is going to bring?
Well, that's, kind of what Jake was talking about. I mean, no question about it. I mean, it's one of those things where Washington's defensive line was able to rush the passer effectively. They were able to disrupt Texas a lot better than Alabama was.
Yeah.
The Alabama did not. Ewers got into a rhythm. They were able to play from out in front. Texas never led in the game against Washington, and that's probably going to be a big key tonight. I think we do have Jake back on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Jake, I know we were starting to break the matchup down, but I think one other key in the game for Washington, they got off to such a quick start against Texas. I think they need to start quickly against Michigan as well.
Yeah, Jake, we have you. All right. Bailey, keep working on that and see if we can get Jake back on the line. But no, that's going to be the biggest question. And the Alabama offensive line struggled because of, and it wasn't. Michigan did a good job of going with different schemes defensively. They threw out some different formations, some different alignments defensively to kind of confuse Jalen Milroe, to keep him, and the one thing that they wanted him to do was to move in the pocket, but they didn't want him to move up. They didn't care if he moved left or they didn't care if he moved right in the pocket. They just didn't want Jalen Milroe to move up in the pocket.
Yeah, they wanted to wanted to contain Milroe, but they also watched the Georgia film. Georgia had spied him with two people and kind of tried to read and react and didn't blitz a lot, and they gave Milroe a lot of time, and Milroe was able to throw the football effectively. Michigan blitzed quite a bit,
right?
And so they were able to be effective in the first half and get Milroe on the ground. Milroe really struggled against the blitz all year, to be honest with you. He struggled getting the ball out and finding the hot route, or just being able to see the blitz coming and maybe avoid it and take off and get outside the pocket. So that was something that Alabama struggled with all year, and to Michigan's credit, through all their film study and preparation, they were ready for that. There was no doubt about it, and I thought that was a big key to the game, at least the first half, and to keeping Alabama's offense in check, where Alabama didn't do a whole lot and wasn't able to, move the football.
All right, now we got Jake Crane back. Welcome back in, Jake. There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Everybody got me. All right.
Yeah,
good.
we're good, man.
I haven't been kidnapped by North Korea or anything. I don't know what was up with that. But no, I just was talking about the matchup stylistically between Washington and Michigan. I think it's a lot more favorable towards Michigan than the Alabama-Michigan matchup was. Because if you're able to run the ball with that new clock rule, you're able to limit possessions. Yeah. What I'm interested to see mostly is, does Michigan come out from the jump and try and sit on the ball a little bit, or do they want to get that lead first and then sit on the ball a little bit? Because I think Washington, if they win the toss, they're going to take the ball because they're going to try and get out front.
Yeah, see, I was making that point as you were trying to get back on with us, Jake, is that I thought a key for Washington beating Texas was getting off to a fast start, and they never trailed in the game. Yeah. They need to start quickly in this one.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, look, at the end of the day, whoever controls the tempo controls the tone. Whoever controls the tone controls the scoreboard. And I think if you're Washington, You put more pressure on Michigan, obviously, if you go up, but that's your only chance to dictate the pace and the tempo of the game. That's your only chance to make Michigan uncomfortable, because Michigan, even though they were able to find a way last week against Alabama, this is not a team that plays from behind a lot. I mean, look at how many minutes of the whole year they've trailed, especially in the second half. So if you're able to go put the pressure on Michigan by getting out in front, you totally eliminate their ability to control the pace of the game, and that's who they want to beat.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I think Alabama was the first team to put Michigan in a deficit in the second half.
Without a doubt. I mean, and again, it's and I think, though, Michigan's best shield, I guess, our best free health is their experience, right? I mean, this core, that's why the whole year when everybody was like, well, Michigan, we really don't know about Michigan. We know more about Georgia than we know about Michigan. No, we don't. I've watched these same guys play for 3 years, right? So I think if you put them in a position that they're not accustomed to, obviously they're going to be a little bit more uncomfortable. But that's a whole heck of a lot easier said than done. And when I look at Michigan on defense, I don't think you're going to stop Washington totally. I don't think you can shut them down in between the 20s. But in this style of game, if Michigan can run the ball the way I think they can, holding Washington to a field goal is almost as good as a stop.
That Washington offensive line, a lot of people still aren't familiar with it. They win the nation's top offensive line award. Michigan, by the way, had won it the previous 2 years, so you got the last 3 years of winners there on the field. But we've undersold. A lot of people have undersold this Washington offensive line. Is it really built to handle what Michigan is going to throw at them pressure-wise?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the best parts and one of the reasons why this offensive line won the Joe Moore Award, and make no mistake, they didn't win it because they're lining up and they're just running the power down people's throat. They won it because of their versatility, but their communication. So we always talk about chemistry between wide receivers and quarterbacks and things like that. Rarely do we ever talk about it between offensive linemen, and this team, I think, has punched above their weight all year on the offensive line. But these guys are able to communicate, and they have feel for each other when you're getting those stunts, when you're getting swiped, when you're getting texts, when you're getting your TEs and things like that. There's nothing they haven't really seen, so it's obviously made their communication more effective. And I think it's a good thing that an offensive line is rewarded for being so daggum good in pass protection and having that run game as a changeup. So everybody that's thinking that Michigan is just going to overwhelm Washington up front because they were able to sack Jalen Milroe a lot, don't forget, this is the worst year in Alabama history as far as giving up sacks. Oh. They weren't special. They were just next.
Yeah, they gave up 49 sacks. Now, with Michigan, do you think they vary their looks up? They watched film and realized Alabama had struggled against pressure all year. But I would think you can't just blitz Washington constantly because you'll get burned.
Yeah, well, look, it's just like anything. You've got to be able to mix it up, right? You never want to do just one thing or give one look. But if it's me, and I know Jesse Minter is going to have a great plan, if it's me, I am going to make Washington go 9, 10, 11 plays to score. I'm going to keep everything in front because I know this. If there's one thing in this world that I do know, other than I don't understand women, is that offensive coordinators and quarterbacks are the greediest people on the planet, especially the ones that have arms like Michael Penix Jr. It's very hard for them to take the check down all the way down the field. It's very hard for them to sit here and throw slant and hitch and dig and never hit the post, never bang the 9 route or anything. Eventually, they can't stand it. Can Washington be patient enough? And can Michigan be malleable enough on defense to try and force that action? That's the chess match I want to see. How is Michigan going to play Washington from a too-high standpoint? Are they going to play a lot of cover 3? Is it going to be, hey, they can throw and catch it, but we're going to tackle them and then make them score touchdowns in the red zone, or see if they get greedy and try and go over the top into double coverage or in an umbrella look?
Is J.J. McCarthy, is he as equivalent to, we always call the NFL, these quarterbacks that are game managers. Is J.J. McCarthy like a game manager for Michigan?
Well, number one, I know what you're saying, Scott. I think that's the worst term in sports.
Yeah.
I think it's the worst term in sports. If you're not a game manager at quarterback, you can't play quarterback. Like what it means is that you're not super athletic, right? Like your best attribute is that you don't screw it up. I don't think that's J.J. McCarthy. I think J.J. McCarthy does better in chaos. I mean, his biggest plays are typically when plays break down. I mean, go look at the trick play that they had last week against Bama, where he makes a one-handed catch on a throwback, then spins around and throws it. I think he's more Jackson Pollock than he is Andy Warhol. Sometimes that can be good. Sometimes that can be bad. But he's athletic enough to run the ball. If I'm Michigan, I don't think they ran enough quarterback design runs last game. The couple times they did, they hit Alabama bad. You truly get a hat on a hat when the quarterback runs the ball. I think you're going to see a lot more of it tonight. I think it's going to be a huge part of what they do. But if I'm Washington, I am going to make J.J. McCarthy beat me through the air as much as possible. If I load the box and play zone, right, and you still beat me on the ground, well, we weren't going to win anyway, so it doesn't matter. But it is going to be a cold day in hell before I let Michigan come out in 12 personnel and 11 personnel, and I try and go even numbers in the box with you, or I try and play light in the box. Now, I don't think Michigan's going to get as cute as they did last week in the first half. I think they'd be absolutely nuts, too. This isn't a game where you got to pitch backwards, in my opinion. It's a game where you just need to throw strikes and throw to contact. But if I'm Washington, J.J. McCarthy's going to have to beat me with his arm, or at least that's my plan going in.
Well, I know your colleague David M. Coney. He played quarterback for the Wolverines. I know you guys have had this discussion on the show. We had it a little bit this morning in hour one. Now the key is win or lose. Now my take has been if Michigan wins, it's going to be hard for Harbaugh to leave. And if they lose, I wouldn't be surprised if he bolted for the NFL. Is the consensus on Crane & Company the opposite? Is it the same? What about Harbaugh's future?
I think if he wins it, he's gone.
Gotcha.
I think if he wins it, he's gone. Like what? It's again, you've accomplished what you're obviously your main goal was. You came back from, if you're Jim Harbaugh, them walking in your office and asking for money back to winning a national championship and going out on a high note. There's just part of me, it's because I have a brother, right? Just like Jim Harbaugh has a brother. The only difference is I didn't lose to my brother in the Super Bowl. So I think there's one part of every Thanksgiving where Jim Harbaugh sits down, John Harbaugh sits down, Tom Crean just over there talking about losing basketball games after marrying one of the Harbaugh sisters. I just feel like there's a part of him that it's like his dad's proud of him, but he's not as proud of him as John, But I just feel like that's the last step. You win the national championship at Michigan. Hey, it's great job, son. So proud of you. Great job. But you remember that time John beat you in the Super Bowl? The granddaddy of them all, the biggest one ever. There's something about that, guys. I think if he wins it, he checks this off. He's got to go win a Super Bowl to make Thanksgiving fun again.
And if Washington wins, they get to claim the Pac-12, who has not won a national championship in I don't know how long, but it's the last one ever for the conference that just decimated themselves.
No, it's January. No, it's past January 1st. They're Big Ten now. No, they're dead.
Happy New Year. There we go.
Oh, the Pac-12 kid. Yeah.
Well, Jake, I know we appreciate the time, but before you go, who do you like? You like Michigan?
Oh man, yeah. It's I always love coming on here. Y'all do a heck of a job. One of the few sports shows I listen to when I get off mine. Here's what I like. Give me Michigan 34-27 tonight. Give me Michigan 34-27.
So it's a little bit higher scoring, but he likes the Wolverines. Well, Jake, we appreciate you. Thanks for hanging with us. We know cell phones can get wonky a little bit, but appreciate that, brother.
Oh, yeah.
And let everybody know how to connect with you guys.
Definitely. Well, the Russians can't stop me. But if you want to check out the live stream tonight, it's easy. Just go to YouTube. It's Crane & Company, CRAIN and Company. We go live each weekday morning, 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central as well. And Yeah, man, we call it like we see it. It's kind of an old school sports show. So, come hop on with us tonight and have some fun. Let's win some bets.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Jake.
All right, y'all be good.
All right. Yeah, so I guess I can't call it Pac-12. We can't call it Pac-12 Big Ten because it is after January 1st.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, technically, if it had been Alabama, Texas, it would have been another all-SEC.
See, I don't know when all that goes into effect. I don't know when. I mean, is it at the end of the sports calendar?
To me, it's the end of the baseball season, in May.
After everything all wraps up, the baseball, softball season, everything else, all the track
all
national
the other stuff.
Yeah,
because you're looking at it, and the Texas is still playing in the Big 12 in basketball.
Right.
All this stuff.
Yeah, so the football team, the next time they play will be in the SEC. Everything else will follow as it all goes along. So, all right, let's get a break in, shall we? We're live from Bill Penny Toyota. It's Talking Ball. Your phone calls, 256-576-4977.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Our last reported accident was 53 in Kelly Springs, came in as a no injury. At 31 in Nanceford in Morgan County, that one had a Morgan County deputy involved. They reported injury there. Martin Road and Zert Road was a no injury. 6th Avenue and 7th Street in Decatur had southbound blockage, but nobody hurt. Snelling wishes its clients and employees a safe and prosperous 2024. Snelling, how the area's best companies hire talent. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Work injuries happen in Alabama all the time, whether it's an accident at work, getting injured, lifting heavy objects, hurting your hands on a machine, or just performing the same movement over and over until your body breaks down. But when it happens, there's only one law firm to call in Alabama. That's Pond, Lehocky, Giordano. For personalized legal support, reach out to Pond Lehocky at 855-774-3838 or pondlehocky.com.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Football season and Bad Daddy's Burger Bar. The perfect combination of good times and great food. This season, score big with one of our chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness. Our delicious burgers are made with premium Angus beef, and you can pair it with one of our signature cocktails or a cold craft beer from our huge selection. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar on the Parkway in Huntsville and our new location at Cliff Farm, Highway 72 in Madison.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Hey there, Bob Baumhauer here. Score big deals at Baumhauer's this football season and order from our Inflation Bites menu. Try our Buffalo Wing Special with fries and a complimentary beverage for only $9.99. And what's football without a cold beer? Our pitchers of Yingling and Yingling Flight are only $7.99, served all day, 7 days a week. And huddle up, football fans. Sign up today for our free NFL Pick'em contest at Baumhauers.com for weekly prizes. Baumhauers, legendary fun and legendary food.
Oh, Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. And we had to work in the national championship game. We worked in Alabama and Georgia. Times are changing in the Music City as well.
Christie kicks it high and short. Going to be fielded by Lorenzo Neal at the 25. Pitches it back to Wycheck. He throws it across the field to Dyson.
He's got something.
30.
And down the sideline, only Christie down there to stop.
He's got
40,
something.
50.
He's got it.
40,
He's got it.
20, 10.
He's got it.
End zone. Touchdown Titans. There are no flags on the field. It's a miracle. Tennessee has pulled a miracle. A miracle for the Titans. After reviewing.
How about that? 25 years ago today, the Music City Miracle happens in Nashville. Frank Wycheck, all of them on the field. Now Derrick Henry may have perhaps played his last game in a Titans uniform. Ryan Tannehill has played his last game in a Titans uniform. Much has changed in Nashville since then, and much is ongoing changing in Nashville.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton going on in Nashville. They're building a new stadium. The Titans are in transition. I mean, they won the game yesterday, and Derrick Henry broke some of Earl Campbell's records, which you've done something then, 90 touchdowns, the all-time rushing leader in the history of the franchise, but now he's a free agent.
He's also the all-time rushing leader for former Alabama players in the NFL. He broke Sean Alexander's mark yesterday. So Derrick Henry is the all-time leading rusher for former Alabama running backs in the NFL.
And so we'll see where he goes. I mean, he's going to be a free agent. It'll be his choice. If I were him, I mean, again, running backs only have a short shelf life. You'd probably want to try to go to an organization that you felt like had a chance to win a Super Bowl. But we'll see. Certainly Derrick Henry, I still think he's been remarkably durable. And so, and done a great job. Had 153 yards, I think, in a touchdown yesterday as they ruined the Jags season. But I still think he's got some miles left in the tank.
Let's go on to the phone lines. Brandon is with us. Good morning, Brandon.
Man, I remember that Music City Miracle. We had gone and bought a new big screen TV, the ones 25 years ago that were about the size of a Volkswagen.
Yeah.
For people to get it in the house.
And now we had one of those at the station one time. It weighed 1,000 pounds.
That was okay. I bought that one in 90.
No, I'm talking about the monitor we got. Remember the monitor that weighed 1,000 pounds?
Oh, yeah, that thing we get. Yeah, well, I'm not going to say where we ended up getting that one from. But, yeah, it weighed 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
God, it's amazing how much football's the same to an extent, but technology's changed. I remember that TV. We were so proud of that thing, and I remember 4 of us struggled trying to get it up the steps to get it into the house.
Yeah.
And we brought it in, and we were watching that game, and I was like, well, at least we got one memory of this right here. We'll always remember the first day we brought this home. So, God, what a play. It was really unbelievable.
Oh, it was. And I have a good friend that was actually in the replay booth. He was in charge of the replays, of getting it all streamlined so the referees and the replay coordinator could watch it there in the replay booth. And listening to his story, going through all that was amazing after everything all happened.
I just remember my stepdad hollering touchdown, and my uncle come running in spitting beer everywhere because he thought he had that game. And it's a sad day. And, Scott, I just want to tell you, I know you're from Upper Iowa. Last week when we were in Colorado, and it's 14,000 feet and 0 degrees.
Yeah.
I don't know how y'all do it. I would look like Ralphie's brother going to school every day if I lived there.
We did. In elementary school and middle school, that's exactly what you look like, especially in elementary school because, if it got real cold, you would not have recess in elementary school. You would not go outside. But if it was like it is right now, 34 degrees, 35 degrees, yeah, you would be outside for recess. So, yeah, you had to bring all your stuff. You dressed warm. That is, you layered up.
Well, we went to the ski slope there in Leadville, And I'm standing there. We took a lesson, and then I was kind of piddling around with my bad hip and injuries a little bit. And a guy goes past me, and he's got a boom box on his shoulder. Would never have believed it if I hadn't seen it. And he was playing Family Tradition by Hank Williams Jr. going down the green run. And he's in overalls, no T-shirt, and he's got his pants rolled up to his knees. And I looked at him when he went by, and I thought, okay, there are people in this world that are not right in the head, because there is no way this guy is not freezing to death. And he was out there for at least 3 or 4 hours, no gloves. He put the boombox up after about 2 runs. But I had a new respect for the cold after doing that, because I've never been that high in that cold of conditions in single-digit temperatures. I just thought when we went to the national championship that was cold. No. Got a total new respect for it.
Wow.
It's the wind chill. So the cold will get you, but the wind chill is what gets you the worst. And usually
shallow breaths.
Yep. Usually after a snow, when it's snowing, it's not bad. It's tolerable to be outside.
Brutal, man.
It's the next day when the humidity leaves the air and you get the wind chill and you get the cold. That's when it just gets down to your bones, and that's when you hate life. And I've hated life several times.
My son made the mistake. We got there, and he saw all that snow, and he runs and dives on it, and it was about as soft as a 2x4.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't do that.
That snow there is hard
Yes.
packed stuff.
Yes.
And you know it's bad when you're in town and you're looking, because I'm a real estate guy. I was looking at some lots, and the guy said, no, the city won't sell these lots. And I said, why is that? He said, they've got to have somewhere to put the snow.
No doubt.
Yeah. Bram, hate to do it to you, but we are up against break. Yeah.
Appreciate you.
And we could talk about the snow all day. Let's get a break in, because when we come back, we do need to fill you in on what's going on with Alabama. The transfer portal has closed. All of that in there. Any expected news, announcements, anything. Mike Rodek's going to fill us all in on what's been happening with the Alabama Crimson Tide over the last 72 hours and change.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Emily Owen. For this Monday night, expect scattered showers and a few thunderstorms. We could see some heavy rainfall within some of these showers. Also expect gusty winds as high as 40 miles per hour. Heading into your Tuesday, rain lingers on into the afternoon. High temperatures topping out in the mid to upper 50s, but it will be windy at times. We could see wind gusts as high as 35 miles per hour. I'm Fox 54 meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Got a report of a wreck northbound on the Parkway at westbound 565. Looks to me like traffic's moving through that area with no problem. 53 in Kelly Spring was a no injury. 31 in Nance Ford in Morgan County had a deputies unit involved there. That one did report as an injury type. No hose, no mask. You can ask Dr. Sandman, that's Dr. Sandlin, for the medically proven benefits of the Somnodent for sleep apnea and for snoring. Dr. Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing. We have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates. Residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
These days, saving time is important, and saving money is even more so. That's where Eagle Masonry and Insulation comes in. Over the years, Eagle has expanded their services to meet the needs of folks like you in our area. If you need masonry, brick, stone, or block work, Eagle should be your first call. They can even help if your property needs grading, erosion control, and Eagle can handle dirt haul-off. Call Eagle Masonry and Insulation today at 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time, and Eagle saves you money.
Isn't the story of the prodigal son an amazing story? Basically, a rowdy boy who literally wished his father dead, ran away, and consumed his wealth with hard and fast living. Yet the father looked for his return every day, and when the boy got tired of eating pig slop, he decided to return. What did the father do? As soon as he saw that boy, he ran to him, threw his arms around him, and killed the fatted calf for a great celebration. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of the Cross Point Church. If you're looking for a church home, come see us, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison.
Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Thursday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on at advancedlifeclinic.com.
There you are. Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond, just sitting around here at Bill Penny Toyota out in the service department where they're open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then on Saturday, 7 a.m. to 5, they can service your vehicles. And we need to find out exactly what is going on with Alabama. We saw over the weekend, and we know the transfer portal window now is closed. Doesn't mean nobody can still go in it. Graduate transfers can go in it. You can graduate and go in at any time. Now the question is anybody else coming in? Declaring for the draft we think is done. We don't know.
Yeah, we're still trying to sort out everything. Alabama's roster situation has been interesting since the Rose Bowl, and we're going to welcome in a guy. He's been with us on more than one occasion, but now he is with 24/7 Sports and Bama 24/7. Bama Online, now part of On3 Sports. Bama 247 now, the 24/7 site for 24/7 Sports. He's done a great job covering Alabama, both for AL.com and now for Bama 24/7. And previously was with ESPN covering the Bills and the Patriots, but he has now for several years covered the Crimson Tide. And it's always great to welcome Mike Rodak back into the conversation. Mike, good morning. You're with Drew and Scott. How are you?
Doing well, guys.
Yeah, hey, man, appreciate the time. I guess my first question for you, and Scott brought up an interesting part about the graduating as far as the graduate transfer stuff, because I don't know Jace McClellan's situation yet when he would finish school, but is there any clarity to Jace McClellan's situation yet with Alabama? He's the one guy I've been waiting to kind of see if he would declare, if he would go into the transfer portal. The last guy we saw go into the portal last night was Jake Pope.
Right, yeah, with Jace, so he graduated – undergraduate degree would have been in August is when he got his. So he was a grad student from a school standpoint this year, this past season. Obviously a senior in terms of eligibility, but he has that fifth year available because of the COVID waiver for 2020. So, I do think Nick Kelly from the Tuscaloosa News reported over the weekend that Jace is expected to declare. Kind of flew under the radar from Nick, but it was a good nugget that he picked up. So, I would expect, that's kind of been my expectation all along. I think of those two guys, Jace and Roydell, I think Jace has the stronger NFL draft profile. I think that's always kind of been there a little bit more for him. So, and here's the other thing too. Like, I don't know if he comes back for another year, whether it's at Alabama or somewhere else. I don't know necessarily what he's gaining for the draft. I think it almost could hurt you from the sense that the team could think that you have you have more mileage on your tires. You played, an extra year of college, and I don't think he's going to show anybody anything more than what he's already shown, which is he's a pretty good back. I don't think he's a game-changing, explosive back. He's probably not a day 1 or day 2 NFL draft pick, but he's probably a mid-round guy that, can have a solid NFL career. And again, I think it makes sense for him to start that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that running back spot is the one position where, you want guys to come back in certain spots. The running back spot is not one of them because your lifespan as far as carries go is always very limited.
Right, exactly. And that's something I think historically been a stigma about Alabama running backs, that they kind of come out and, they've been worn down from, kind of that offense that Alabama used to have, and guys got so many carries in that, and they kind of went into the NFL beat up. That's probably lessened a little bit because, they've obviously shifted to more of a passing offense the last 5 or 6 years. But that's still, again, something I think players are probably cognizant of, that, you want to be fresh for the NFL. You don't have a very long lifespan as a running back in the NFL. There's not a lot of running backs getting those big second contracts. So, and there's not a lot of running backs getting drafted in the first round. So, some players might say, I'm going to come back to school and try to make myself into a first-round pick. There's very few running backs who can really say that and can really get there. And, again, he's not Derrick Henry. He's not that sort of back, and he never will be. It's just, again, it's who he is. But for Alabama, too, I think it's probably time to move on, where you have some younger guys that if Jace had come back, if Roydell had come back, if both of them had come back, then I think you probably would have lost Jam Miller. You might have lost Justice Haynes. So you got to keep the train moving. You got to get these young guys into bigger roles, and that seems to be where Alabama's at. It's time for Jam Miller. It's time for Justice Haynes, and then they have 3 younger guys behind that, and Richard Young, and then the 2 freshmen it is signed.
Yeah, that's the point I was making earlier in the show too, Mike, is they went ahead and announced Daniel Hill this weekend as he committed officially and already signed at the All-American game, but they also signed Kevin Riley. They flipped him from Miami. So the fact that they took 2 running backs, where on the 20th they had none committed going into that day, but the fact that they signed both those kids, to me, told me a couple guys were leaving.
Exactly, yeah. I think it's one of those things where I know everybody wants a lot of these players to stay for a 5th year. They want guys to not go to the NFL as fast. They want Alabama to bring in a bunch of transfers, and then they want to sign all these freshmen. But just from a pure number standpoint, you can't do all of those. So you kind of have to pick your spots, and I think Alabama's picked their spots where they're going to go a little bit younger at running back and bring in those freshmen. And to be honest, really, their whole team. I mean, we maybe get into this later, but I think you're bringing in 25 signees right now as it stands, and you might add maybe a 26th in Ryan Williams if and when he signs. Then that's a good number of freshmen that you're bringing in. And if you have some guys coming back for a 5th year, the numbers in terms of staying under the 85 limit start to get pretty tight. So,
yes.
Again, that's something I think people forget is there's a roster limit, there's a scholarship limit,
is.
and you can't necessarily just bring in guys, until the cows come home.
A lot of consternation along that offensive line after the Rose Bowl. What does the offensive line look like as of right now? Hard to believe that we are, maybe 2 months away from spring practice. It's going to get a lot of attention as that draws closer.
Yeah, I'd say their major storyline going into the spring, which is only 2 months away, basically. It's funny how quickly it will go, but I think Tyler Booker put on Instagram the other day the picture of the fresh Prince of Bel-Air, sitting in the room, and there's nobody around. And that's probably what it feels like. I mean, it's him and it's Jaden Roberts. So you have your guard spots locked down for another year. Your tackle spots, Caden Proctor, obviously at left tackle, I think you're good there, but there were still some question marks even in the Michigan game. And then your center and your right tackle spots right now are just, who knows? Maybe Elijah Pritchett can step in at right tackle and fill that hole. I think that's obviously, big shoes to fill in terms of what J.C. Latham gave them. And then your center spot is, really an issue. Even everybody kind of saw it with Seth. There were clear problems with Seth, but there's no clear backup plan. And I think it was a little bit surprising for me, even though it had been kind of percolating and the rumors were out there on Terrence Ferguson for a while. It was surprising to me that he still went into the portal because I think he could be their starting center this year if he had it. So, They got to find someone, and that is something where I don't think there's going to be a lot more activity for Alabama adding guys through the portal, but I do think center is going to be the one spot where if they can find someone, and maybe you have to wait until after the spring and see if someone goes into the portal in April. But that's, I'd say, the number one position of need right now.
Yeah. Is that going to leave them, though, in the same situation as they were this year, where they get a center and the depth is not there, and whoever they have is whoever they're going to have to use?
It might be that way. I think it depends kind of how they feel about James Brockermeyer. Can he have a good spring and kind of make them feel a little bit better about that backup center spot, or maybe even, become a serious consideration to start? I think so far through his, 3 years now, I don't think he's played a ton, and sometimes it signals that the coaches don't have a ton of confidence to kind of put you out there. So, he's kind of the wild card in that group. And then, I think Casey Poe, the freshman coming in, has a lot of upside. I think that maybe he's your center 2 years from now. I just don't know in this offense, this level of football, to have a freshman starting at center with all the line calls and the things that you have to pick up from defenses and communicate with the quarterback and all that. That's a lot for a freshman to take in. So it helps that he's here as an early enrollee. Maybe he shows something in the spring. But Casey Poe would probably be the other depth guy as far as the center position.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then, of course, defensively, they suffer some losses in the secondary. I was a little surprised with that Earl Little transferred. I thought he was the biggest loss defensively. He never played a lot, but he was injured, but he showed us some talent. And with two corners leaving early for the NFL, and no surprise there, they both have a chance to be first-round draft choices. I thought he would stay and compete, but his father had some things to say on social media. But I think when you guys were down there at the Rose Bowl or in California, there was even quotes that I read from him that he was talking about still recovering from a shoulder injury. It's the old adage I was told by a coach one time: you can't make the club in the tub. I always thought that Earl's biggest problem was his availability.
Yeah, exactly. He's been hurt, had the torn labrum in his right shoulder. Happening at LSU this year. Even before that, he wasn't playing a ton. I think everybody kind of assumed that, because he was their backup star, that everybody kind of thought throughout the year that Malachi would be gone after this year to the draft, and then Earl Little would kind of step in next year at star. And maybe even Earl thought that, because when I talked to him at the Rose Bowl, I even mentioned to him, Malachi's probably gone. That's maybe your job next year. And he seemed like that's where his mind was at. And I even mentioned his dad and about staying patient. And that's it seemed like he was following along that path, and he'd be back for the spring and compete maybe for the star role or, the outside corner role that's open. But, maybe that changed if Malachi communicated, right after the Rose Bowl, he wanted to come back. 'Cause again, same thing. I talked to Malachi last week or 2 weeks ago now in LA, and I even mentioned a fifth year to him, and he kind of said no. I said, has anybody, asked you about a fifth year or kind of nudged you in that direction? He said no. So I don't know if something changed very late in the game where Malachi decided to come back, but I do wonder if there's a direct correlation to that happening and then, Earl going into the portal. So that leaves them where it leaves them. They have a lot of young guys in the secondary. They have a lot of talent. I think the guy that might fly under the radar is Des Ricks, the five-star kid who came in last year and didn't really play. But if you're talking about trying to find someone to start, that Trey Amos is one of your starters on the outside. That Malachi is your star. You're trying to find a starter at the other spot. So maybe Des Ricks is that guy. Maybe Antonio Kite can compete. Or maybe you say, is Jalen Mbakwe good enough, talented enough as a freshman coming in that we feel like we can start him? So that's, one of the big positions of competition, I'd say, in the spring and then obviously in August too.
Another year, another chance for Nick Saban to have to fill at least one spot on his coaching staff.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. I guess there's two open right now in terms of Coleman Hutzler leaving, and we'll have to see if that becomes George Hilo's job officially. That was something that Saban, didn't seem 100% about when we asked them in December. And then the Holman-Wiggins one, I think, was more surprising. Kind of came out of the blue a little bit. So, recruiting rankings I think are really good with him. He is the second best recruiter in the country. That is probably because of Julian Sayin, because Holman Wiggins is from California. He recruits California, and that's where you got Julian Sayin from. I don't know if Holman Wiggins was instrumental in Julian Sayin coming. I think it's probably more of a Nick Saban thing, but still a really good recruiter, and I think you're gonna have to replace that. I haven't heard directly any names on that yet, and we'll have to see if there's any other changes to the coaching staff, because the one thing to look out for is Tavares Robinson not being under contract for next year, and I've kind of heard things different ways on whether he'll be back or not. So that would be the one other name to watch on that coaching staff.
Yeah, I would think they'd be very crucial to return Tavares Robinson. He's done a great job recruiting. He's heavily involved with Ryan Williams, and I think with that secondary needing molding, and he was able to get Zay Mincy, I would think getting T-Rob under contract, perhaps with a raise, would be very, very important. But, Mike, good stuff, man. Thank you for coming on with us, and let everybody know how to follow you guys' coverage over at Bama 247.
That's right, Bama247.com. You can follow me on Twitter/X. At Mike Rodak.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You got it, guys. Thank you.
Let's get that final break in. Tomorrow's headlines will wrap us up when we return.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
We got several accidents working as we try to wrap things up this morning. Parkway northbound to westbound 565. Looks to me like that one must be pulled to the side of the road. Traffic's moving okay through that area. 53 in Kelly Spring ought to be wrapping up. 31 in Nance Ford had a county deputy involved. That one may still be working in Morgan County. Expert heart care backed by advanced technology. When you need cardiac care, you need the Heart Doctor. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
You don't have to go somewhere else just so you can go somewhere new. Plan your next vacation with Huntsville International Airport and Breeze Airways. Enjoy friendly, convenient, nonstop travel to some of the most exciting destinations in the U.S., including the home of iconic casinos, world-class shows, dining, and entertainment. Las Vegas. With flights starting as low as just $79, Breeze has got you covered with easy, breezy, nonstop flights to Las Vegas. Book nonstop to Las Vegas now at flybreeze.com.
It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, once again, don't forget, 97.7 ESPN The Zone will be your home for tonight's national championship game. Don't forget, coming up at 5 o'clock tonight, the UAH Chargers will take on Union. That game will start over the airwaves on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Then, when the national championship game gets into full swing, the UAH Union game will finish up on 97.7 ESPN The Zone too. So make sure you tune into both. You can listen. There won't be no drive today because of everything going on. So you'll be able to listen to UAH basketball, then listen to the national championship game. And the College Football Hall of Fame, the class will be announced later today. The full class is going to be announced later today, but we can tell you right now that Randy Moss and Alex Smith were announced yesterday as a part of the class. Today, this morning, we have learned Michael Vick, Dewey Selman from Oklahoma, Nebraska and Ohio coach Frank Solich are all part of the class. The entire class will be comprised of 19 players and 3 coaches. But those are the names that have been leaked out and have been put out so far that will be going into the new College Football Hall of Fame class.
Yeah, that's some great stuff. And you're really happy for Coach Solich. You know, it was one reason Nebraska's still going through the abyss is they let him go when he replaced Tom Osborne. But he certainly did a great job for Bill Bender's Ohio Bobcats. And really did a good job in the MAC. So congrats to Coach Solich. Congrats to Dewey Selman, Leroy Selman's brother, and they were stars at OU. Congrats to all those guys. And Wolverine Dan couldn't get to you today, man, but good luck to your Wolverines tonight.
Yeah, tonight is the night, the College Football National Championship. Somebody's going to be 15-0 at the end of the night. Is it going to be Michigan or is it going to be Washington?
Well, Jake Crane and I picked the Wolverines, so we'll see.
There you go. Hey, Grady the Greek will give us a pick as well. He was running late for the bus today.
Oh.
Yeah, he was going to text in a pick this morning, but he was running late. So Grady the Greek will give us his pick. We'll put that out later as well. Thanks to Bill Penny Toyota. They're a gracious host as well. We'll see you guys back at it tomorrow morning. 7 o'clock, 97.7 ESPN The Zone, Talkin' Ball.
It's official. 47 years in a row, Ford F-150 is the